Hello again, and welcome to Media War Stories, behind the scenes tales from the front lines of the media. And I am not Gary Armstrong, veteran TV reporter. However, this guy is, in fact, Gary Armstrong, veteran TV reporter. And I, on the other hand, am. Why do we have to tell? Yeah, that's me, and that's not him. Okay, so this is a sort of an unusual show. We're here as we normally are, and to begin with, Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. I mean, you've done the setup. The only thing that's missing, I think, is maybe Ken Burns recording us doing this to put this whole thing in perspective. I don't know when this one will be available for viewing and listening, but I was just thinking, we're in the middle of the holiday season, and it doesn't feel that way. And normally people just say, well, that's what we feel every year. The older you get, it has less romance and less fantasy going on. But I don't think that's what we're talking about. And I think the holidays were given a harder assignment than usual this year. What do you think about that?
Yes, and what's different about this show? Why is this show different from all others?
I don't know, Father.
Um, well, in reality, normally we do this show. I'm down here in my studio, and Gary is in his living room up at his house, and here he's at his living room up at his house. Except, actually, he's really not. He's actually down here with us,
It's a
and
miracle.
he's sitting in front of a green screen. So I figured, why don't I? I've just spent the last hour trying to make it look like he is actually, in fact, back home, when in reality he is not. But
It was really watching you do what you do, and this is serious. We kid each other so much, but watching you do what you did, and I was saying, we could have at least 3 or 4 more people doing what you're doing right now. And to see you doing what you're doing, and not being technically efficient at all myself, it's amazing.
yeah, what's fascinating is, uh, uh, to be honest, it, I was part of an experiment back in the early '90s called Up to the Minute, and I've told some stories about it. Uh, we A traditional control room has anywhere from 12, 18 people. You've got a technical director, an
Right.
audio guy, video guy, cameramen, Chiron operator,
Yes.
and then of course you have all the PAs, the assistant directors that have to tell
Yeah.
all the people what to do, and they decided to cut this all down to 3 people, and they made us what they called hyphenates. We
Right.
belonged to 2 unions. I was in the DGA and I was in IBEW, and so we would do every job. And it was an overnight show and it was an experiment. And I always considered it a failed experiment because every night something went wrong.
Right.
But it got on the air, and so it was a success. I mean, our first show was such a disaster. But we had every executive, everybody, the high up at CBS News, and you got to realize our studio. We're down here in a basement. Our control room was literally 1/4 of the size of this room. It was a closet, and of course, because there was too many people,
Right.
we had an overflow room. All right, we had an overflow room
Right.
where these people could go, and the problem was no, we couldn't do that. Well, no, they all had to be in our room because if they were in the overflow room, that meant that they weren't important enough.
Exactly.
And the important people had to be in the control room, and of course, everybody was important. So we were like stuffed. Imagine doing a television show stuffed in a subway car at rush hour in Tokyo. And that's what it was like. And then during the show, um, our set was used to be part of the evening news set, and years earlier they had revamped it. So this was in storage. So they brought the old Dan Rather set from like the 1980s,
Uh-huh.
and it was just the the a map behind us.
Right.
And it was all, different sections. And during the broadcast, because I think North America was right behind the two-shot,
Right.
North America fell off the wall, crashed. The entire continent of North America just crashed to the ground, right? And everybody just turned around and went, all right, and they just continued the show. Now you would have thought that that this would have been a disaster, because not only did this happened in front of everybody, the president of news, that everybody. They just paid no attention to it, and we had decided that we would the format of the show is you were supposed to have an 8-minute news block. That was live news, and then everything else we pre-taped. Well, our director, who was new, I mean, just he was a kid, and he was nervous because there was a lot of pressure on him, and at the time, this show was the it show. We were it. We were the talk of the town. Okay, and we were the A ticket. So our first show, we get to the 8-minute mark, and our director just fades to black in the middle of a piece. and I'm looking at him. I'm going, what are you doing? Well, it's 8 minutes. News block's over. No, it's not. That's not how it works. Maybe it's 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Then you juggle everything else on the back end. But here's the thing. They wanted this to succeed,
right?
Because they were saving money. And when the show was a disaster, and when that ended, they loved us. I mean, we could do no wrong. It was perfect. And I remember, because we had been going to dinners with the president of news. We were in meetings every day, and he's basking in the glow of opening night. And he goes, "Isn't this great?" And I go, "Chip," "Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. We pulled it off, and now we got to do this every day, 5 days a week, from midnight to 8 for the rest of our lives, and we are going to completely disappear into obscurity," which is, of course, exactly what happened.
Yes, that's such an amazing nutshell of our lives, and it's true. I mean, sitting here and doing this show. But when you were talking about a similar situation 7 or 8, however many years ago it was for you, and you were talking about all the other people working in alignment with you, it was just repetition, redundancy. You have 7 or 8 people who are doing what you could do back then, and obviously you can do now. I guess part of progress is getting rid of redundancy. Yes?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, not really. I mean, here, they just wanted to save money. And I mean, every night there was a trouble report. Every night. Because, well, right then, again, it was very new. The show was basically, the whole control room was basically 12 computers. All right. And I'm talking the original IBM PCs, 286s. I mean, dinosaurs.
Right.
Okay. Beyond dinosaurs. And the power was that we got to do this. It was run by 12 PCs, and the big failing of the whole system is that it was run by 12 PCs.
Right.
And we had things that would happen. We had a company who was writing software for us, so that basically was a news system. Now, last time it was called ENPS, but back then they created their own proprietary news system so that producers in the newsroom could type up scripts, type up lower thirds, and all that stuff.
No, it's not amazing. I just realized I went through that too.
And the scripts would then be put into the teleprompter, and the producers could line up all the tapes. The tapes were played through a machine called a beta cart, which it looked like a big refrigerator that you could put 40 tapes into on an elevator system, and there was 4 tape machines, and you could, however the order you set up, it would grab that tape machine, put it into a machine, and then we could play it. But they were writing this software. We weren't beta testing it. We were alpha testing it. So they would write it during the day, and then we would try it live on the air at night. And the problem is that, we were debugging it on air. I remember one time we discovered that if a producer out in the newsroom was typing something and he hit the F3 key, by accident, all of the tapes in the beta cart would eject. Boom, live on the air. Just that, just boom, all of them gone. Okay? This happened so often. Because now when that happened, the three of us, at first we went into a huge panic. So we had 2 external tape machines that we could put tapes into that weren't the beta cart. So we would have to take all the tapes out of the machine, get somebody to give us a list of what order they're supposed to go in, and then one guy would have to stand behind the guy directing the show and put the correct tapes into the single tape machine and then play them. And it got to the point where it happened so often that when it did, the three of us, we didn't even get excited. We just went, okay, we had the routine down so much.
But that was constant chaos.
And we used to have just crazy things. I remember one guy, there was one time the line producer behind us, he was eating an orange and he dropped it and it bounced on the F3 key and all the tapes popped out. It was crazy. But it was a lot of fun. But we would every day the air control would call and they would go computer error. And I go, yeah, because it was always computer error. Although one time I wasn't there. I had left. But I was told sometimes when you're replaying the tape, the show used to go from 2 to 3:30. Then it was replayed from 3:30 to 5, and then we went live from 5 to 6. We were the only news show in history that was live across the entire United States. We were on all the nets because it was 2 o'clock. The show went on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, at 5 o'clock, it was 2 o'clock in L.A. So the whole network took us live. Well, sometimes when you fix something, you might have to play back the news block from an hour or so ago.
Right.
And one day they grabbed the wrong tape and they played the news block from the day before.
Oh.
They literally played yesterday's news. And here's the thing.
Nothing changed.
Nobody noticed. Nobody effing noticed. So it was.
Now, when you say nobody, do you mean the people in the building or the viewers?
Right. The air control, master control, all the people that would normally say, hey, okay, what happened? We got to fill out a trouble report. Not a single executive.
That is worse. I thought we were talking about, the suits of the viewers. But
No. It was everybody. Viewers, nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. It was great. And the other thing we were talking about was holidays. The end of the year.
Yeah, you're in a sense. We were talking about what happened to the gloss and romance of the holidays, and obviously I was doing a not very subtle reference to the political situation. But what you've done is when we watch old newscasts, I'll stay away from movies, but old newscasts or old live entertainment programs from that time, or going back 20 and 30 and 40 years, it seems so nice, so pristine. No one has a clue as to what you guys were doing behind the scenes to make it seem so normal.
Oh, the chaos going on behind the scenes. I mean, I love watching. If I'm watching the news and suddenly a person freezes up or they can't hear it, they go, oh, we seem to have lost contact. And I know there's chaos in the control room.
Right.
Lots of finger pointing and yelling. Of course, nowadays it's not, after COVID, with everything being on a Zoom call or, something like this, nobody seems to get too terribly upset when the screen freezes.
Right.
Because it's going to happen. But I don't know about you. I hate the holiday. I don't hate the holiday season, but I used to hate end of the year reviews.
Oh, yes.
Ugh,
yes.
Please. Isn't it bad enough that we had to experience it in real time? Do we have to really look back and all that? And then the poor schmuck who's got to go around and film every single person who works on a show for the holiday video card.
Right.
Hi, we're the Chiron operators. Happy holiday. We're the producers. we're the PAs. We're the person. We're craft services. And and on the morning news, I remember they used to run it, and it would go on forever. It would be like 3
Oh
minutes
yeah,
of
because
credits.
people obviously, Tom, look forward to seeing your name in
Yeah,
the
and then we'd
credits.
go
So
like, "Who are these people?" We would sit in the control room going, where are these people when we're going down in flames? How could this many people work on this show? We never see any of them, you know. And they were the ones. They were the ones that worked in the daytime. That's what
right,
was really annoying. They worked in the daytime.
right.
We were the ones that actually do the show and work the crappy shift. But these were the ones that
And you know, Tom, while you're talking about the people who are getting the credits, the people who are not normally seen, the on-air people obviously get FaceTime. But who got the most FaceTime during these annual thank you very much things? The suits. They were running off the line, running off the mouth about how happy they were to serve you, and they wish you the merriest of holidays.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and complained about the way they looked on the shot.
Oh God, yes, yes, yes. Having to put up with all those people. It was so much fun. Back during the previous administration, I used to do a year-end review for a year-end review for people with no attention span, and an on of one. It would be January. Well, that sucked. February.
Yes.
Oh, God, could it possibly get any worse? March. God damn it, it got worse.
Oh, yes,
April. Will
yes.
this ever end? May. Oh, come on. You got to be kidding me. And I get the feeling we're going to get those kind of calendars, for the next 4 years. But yeah, holidays, I don't know. There's something about, in this business, you have to work. I mean, you don't get the holiday off.
Right,
And
right.
and if and I would always, I remember we had Jewish friends who would always
Right.
volunteer to work on
Right.
Christmas, so that especially guys that had or women that had kids could have the time off. I used to always volunteer to work. One, because then I didn't have to go down to my in-laws,
Right.
for dinner for the
Ding.
annual family fight that had nothing to do with me, thank God.
Yeah.
But one, there was no traffic.
Right.
Two, you could find on the street parking right across the street from the building, which was fantastic. And three, like Thanksgiving was really a lot of fun at work because they went out of their way. The cafeteria actually cooked a decent meal. I mean, they just really broke. I mean, they had and everybody would get chits. Each
Right.
show had a chit, so you could go down and you got a free, dinner, and it was turkey with all the trimmings, and it was really
Yes.
quite good.
Yes.
And it was sort of festive because everybody was sort of going out of their way to be festive because we were all there stuck at work, but
Right.
it
Right.
it wasn't bad. I mean, I never
I want to jump in here because I have the same feeling now. Working in front of the camera as a reporter, the talent, as it were called, they didn't. They expected to be home with their families during the holidays, and if they were veterans or had been at the station or network for X number of years, you bowed to them. When I went into my tenure in Boston as a kid, I was expected to work holidays. Little did they know that I would always say yes because, bing, it meant another day's pay. It meant more overtime. It meant holiday pay. It meant that, and the ego blew up. It meant that you were on a lot during those newscasts. The narrator, or the anchor, would say, "And here once again, in one show, we had 3 of my pieces, in which I was live in different sites, and the third time I was in the newsroom, and people were thrilled about it. I was ecstatic about it. Other people laughed at it, but that's why I always enjoyed working holidays, and also it was also a good cop-out, I would admit that, about the holiday, home for the holidays things. But it's also, I think of that last scene in the movie, A Christmas Story, where instead of having turkey in a family restaurant, you were having duck, I guess, in the Chinese restaurant.
I just read an interesting factoid about that scene. They gave I can't remember what her name is, the woman the actress that played the mom. All right,
Melissa
the
something,
director
yeah.
gave her a phony script,
Really?
that didn't have the direction that the Chinese waiter was going to chop the duck's head off, and he did that so that she would react, and so the way she reacted was honest. She was
Ah,
completely freaked out. She did not
that's a
expect
good
that
trivia
coming,
bit.
and
That's
she and it was perfect. I mean,
it was
uh,
genuine.
yeah, little director tricks. Oh, another cool thing I got from watching a show called The Offer, which is about the making of The Godfather.
Right. Great,
And
great
oh,
show.
great series.
Yeah.
The scene where Michael is going to kill Salazzo and the police captain, and he goes into the bathroom where Clemenza has hidden a gun.
Right.
Okay, and um, uh, Francis Ford Coppola, he's showing Al Pacino. He says, "Okay, here's what you do: you reach up, the gun is here, you take down the gun,
Right.
and then you go out." So Pacino said, "Got it." And when he left, Coppola turned to the prop man and said, "Put the gun up there and put it 6 inches to the left."
Ah.
So that when Pacino came in and they shot the scene, the gun wasn't there.
Ah.
And you remember how
Right.
he panicked?
Right.
And he's going like,
Right.
well, that was real.
Ah.
He was panicking because he couldn't find the gun. And
Great
it's like,
little bit, yeah.
I think it's cool, the way directors can get,
Yeah.
can get shots like that.
But when you get together and you get to do shows like this and reflect on the past, and it sounds corny, and I don't apologize for that, it gives you an appreciation for where you've been. And I think back to the stories you've shared on this particular show. It just boggles my mind. Now, on the talent end, I went through that whole technology change period you did, but it was so much more complex for you. Let's put it that way. I just had to deal with the camera and what I was talking about. But you're juggling the MacGyver thing, I call it. I don't know whether you can appreciate all this stuff that you've done and you're doing right now in this moment.
Well, it's like I said, it's amazing. If I had the setup that I have down here when I was doing Market Watch, when I was doing my green screen studio,
Yeah.
it would be 100 times easier.
Yeah.
You would not believe the gymnastics we jumped through to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this was actually very cool. We had a set that our set designer, who was into VR, virtual reality back
Right.
then. It was a 500 square foot set, and it had 3 floors, and we could pick any spot on the set. So me as the director, I would go down to her office, and she would put up the set, and I'd say, "Okay, I want an interview set, so let's go up on the 3rd floor, and then look at that corner."
Okay.
And then she would zoom in, and then we would put a desk there, and she would put 2 people, and we would move a virtual camera around, and I'd say, "Okay, that's the shot that I want for the 2 shot. Now this is the one I want for this camera and this
Right.
camera." And then she would render them, and then I would have all the 3 shots that I needed. So I had the ability to one of the sets had a virtual monitor, had a big giant monitor. It didn't exist,
Yes.
but it was there. And so what I would do is I would have the talent with the background with the monitor, and then
Okay.
in the monitor I would have the remote, which was against a different background. But the remote wasn't a remote. It was a guest sitting 2 feet away from the anchor, because the amount of space
Yeah.
that I had was quite frankly not much larger than this.
Okay.
It really was about the same, amount of space.
Got it.
So what I found is that, all right, I had to have the anchor look this way, and then the guest look this way. But in the shot, he was in the monitor looking at the anchor. So you'd have 2 people having a conversation, and one would be like this, and the other would be like this.
So awkward.
And it was so awkward, but it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. I had a
Well,
lot of fun.
part of that is what you're doing, and part of that is here's where we make fun of ourselves, but here's where being a reporter, anchor, you reach for your theatrical skills in a moment like that. And it's not at all crammed it's bigger than that. So you're doing your magic, and we're doing our magic to make it work. And it looks, I guess, good to the public.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we hey, it turns out we can waste a half an hour when we're in the same room just as easily as we waste a half an hour when you're up at your house.
Right.
So let's get to the plug. Serendipity, Seeking Intelligent Life on Earth, Marilyn's blog. It's really good. Voicescapes Audio Theater for the best in audio drama and comedy. A half-hour radio show hit from the 80s is still here, and of course my sister podcast, Get Off My Lawn, starring me and talking about life, the universe, and basically whatever's in the teleprompter. So Gary, well, this was fun.
It was, and
it,
it's when we do in post production, we'll chat more about this. But this was, believe it or not, this was easier for me. It's more relaxed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we bring that to whatever we do, but just sitting here and knowing you're there, it's been a treat. It's been a treat.
We also don't have the 1 second delay.
That's the next thing I was going to mention.
Why
yeah.
It saves me a lot of editing. Oh, so all I can say is till next time. See ya.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, yes.
That Christmas would live in our memories as the Christmas when we were introduced to Chinese turkey. All was right with the world.